I always admired and emulated these guys, you know, when I was younger, and had cover bands and copy bands like them, you know, with original song, like sort of like Deep Purple, and just loved the band, you know. And when they broke up, I was really severely disappointed, and to be singing lead for them now is just more than a dream come true, really. I always admired and emulated these guys, you know, when I was younger, and had cover bands and copy bands like them, you know, with original song, like sort of like Deep Purple, and just loved the band, you know. And when they broke up, I was really severely disappointed, and to be singing lead for them now is just more than a dream come true, really.
Well, he fits in with the band, I think, really well, because A, we worked with him before, so we know him. B, he kind of grew up listening to our kind of music, so he feels it. And what it's doing, really, is making the band perform. When he first came into the audition, we'd been very frustrated looking for a singer. It's very difficult to find a singer, because it's not really a voice you're looking for. It's a person, it's a character, it's a front. And we had some really good singers. But when Joe walked in and started singing, it just felt great.
I grew up with Deep Purple. I wrote songs like Deep Purple. I played in bands that sounded like Deep Purple and played cover versions of Deep Purple. So I feel totally comfortable within Deep Purple. That was never a problem for me. I think it's more uncomfortable for most of the fans than it is for me. And I think the only change that occurs now in Deep Purple is that they probably have more hit songs, because I like to write hit songs. And I think the marriage between Blackmore and myself again is, as you know, in Rainbow, was very successful. And I think it's going to be more successful because we have other members like Roger and John Lord and Ian. They're just fantastic players and persons. So, as witnessed by Slaves and Masters, if you heard the record, you know, we haven't compromised to be so commercial, but yet it's accessible. It's good for radio. It's good for singing and catching the tunes, you know, and yet there's very much artistic value there.
How do I feel about singing with the band? Fantastic about singing with Deep Purple. How do I feel about Ian Gillan? I think he's a great artist, a great singer. I think he's doing. He's got his own projects, and he's going to do what he wants to do. I think that's probably why he's doing what he wants to do, is because it wasn't exactly what Deep Purple had in mind at the time.
Someone asked Joe the other day, how does it feel to be a substitute? And Joe answered, I think quite correctly, that Joe is no substitute. I mean, Joe's his own person, he's his own singer. He's not taking anyone else's place. And he has his own character, and he'll make his own mark.
That's right.
It's nothing to do with Ian Gillan.
Yeah, Ian Gillan was Mach 2, you know, and Mach 5. And, you know, it's not replacing anybody.
You can't compare. You know, Ian Gillan's great. I mean, he's a really good friend of mine, and I love him dearly. And he's a certain kind of singer. He's a character. He's a unique, creative force. He is very much. He's irreplaceable. In fact,
that's right.
He will always be Ian Gillan. And Joe's not a substitute for Ian Gillan. Joe's his own person.
You know,
you can't compare.
I fit within the context of Deep Purple with the same affinity and the same soul of Deep Purple, but I don't try to be I don't try to be anybody else. In fact, I'm trying to be me, you know, as we all should, trying to be yourself, no matter what they say.
Free to be me, as we say.
As we say in Black Knights. Someday I'll be free to be me. Rainbow was a little more pop-oriented, I think. I mean, I don't know. Rainbow was its own entity. You know, we had a different attitude about the band as opposed to Deep Purple. The musical side of it, as well as the mental attitude of it, was different. Even though Roger and Richie were both within the context of Rainbow and driving musical forces, leading forces in the band, I think that they knew that it was an offshoot of Deep Purple, and it wasn't Deep Purple, and that was just a child of Deep Purple, more or less, to use an analogy. I feel the difference. You know, people ask me that question a lot, but I honestly feel the difference. There's no to me, it's very hard to compare them because I listen to a Deep Purple record, I listen to a Rainbow record. If you actually had them side by side, I think you'd see and hear a great difference. You know, it just seems synonymous right now because of the general personnel, but I think if you A-B'd each record of this Deep Purple record and the last Rainbow record, you'd see a difference. You'd hear a flavor difference, you'd singing difference, or playing difference, or writing difference. And I think it's just a favorite of the press to go after that one because it's so obvious. But when it's not the same. I actually went back and did this. This is why I'm telling you to take both products and listen. Because after a while I started to get confused and said, well, wait a minute, could I be wrong? But I'm not. It's a different entity. Deep Purple has much more of a mystery about it, you know, as the Rainbow really was more or less just straight up front, you know. It's deeper purple, and Rainbow was many more colors. Well, it's live. It's a very short experience. Tonight here in Zagreb was only the third show we did live, but we did do work on an album for nearly 1 year, not on the album, but rehearsals and everything else and writing. So as far as Deep Purple's concerned, I'm pretty much very new in town. But I know Roger and Richie for over 10, almost 11 years now, so that's kind of very comfortable. And my impressions of Deep Purple are that it's going to be equally as comfortable, and we're having a good time.
Well, yeah, it started in the studio in Orlando, Florida, with a big piece of paper on the wall that we all would take a pen and write down our ideas for the title of the album. And the first one that was written down was Slaves and Masters. That was written down by Roger GILLAN, because you have a slave reel of tape and you have a master reel of tape. And I would be in the studio going, hey Raj, with the headphones, you know, is this the slave or the master? And he'd go, well, we're all slaves and masters, aren't we? And I said, yeah, we are. Slave to love, slave to art, master of life, whatever you may be, simultaneously. Sort of like the King of Dreams. He's a winner and a loser. He's a liar and a prophet and a god. He's a devil and a god all at the same time. You know, it's about a person who was a slave and a master of his own fate, you know? And we saw that the title had a lot of significance in the world today, you know, because we're all, like with the ideologies, people fighting the wars in the Saudi Arabia and stuff, they want to be masters, which means inevitably someone is going to be a slave, you know? That's what the whole world is about. It's just a struggle, you know, between, well, I rule you, and then the people overturn it, and then they rule them. And really, if you think about slaves and masters, why does it have to exist at all? It starts within. So that's basically, it started as a joke and ended in some sort of philosophical meaning, which most things do, which most great things do, if you notice. You know, there's truth in jest. There's a lot of truth in it. There's something funny.
The band's happier. The music is flowing much more. In fact, I was against Joe being in the band initially, before he sang with the band, simply because I could see everyone saying, oh yeah, Deep Purple's turning into Rainbow, you know, Deep Rainbow. I could see the headlines. But really, when he sang with the band, he was the only singer that really sparked the band and created that chemistry that you can't define.